Welcome to the 2022 Coffee Break Debates hosted by the Waseca High School American Government and Political Science classes. Today we are pleased to welcome the candidates for Waseca City Council. Hi, I am Charlie Hargeth, a senior here at Waseca High School. I will be the moderator for today's Coffee Break Debate for those running for the Waseca City Council. Each candidate will give an opening statement followed by questions from the audience. We want to make sure our audience is aware of our candidates today and the upcoming City Council election. Jeremy Conrath is here running unopposed for Ward 1. James Ebertowski is here running unopposed for Ward 2. Stacy Schrader and Robert Tackett are competing against each other for the Ward 1 special election. So, Waseca residents that are living in Ward 1 will vote on Jeremy's position running unopposed, as well as a choice between Stacy and Robert running for the seat that was vacated. In Ward 3, Darren Arndt and Chad Schluter are competing for that position. Unfortunately, neither of our Ward 3 candidates could attend today due to last-minute unavoidable work conflicts. We will now begin our City Council debate with opening statements from each candidate. Starting with Mr. Conrad.
Thank you. I'm Jeremy Conrath. I'm 46 years old. Lived in Waseca my whole life. Live here with my wife, Jamie. Daughter, Michaela, she's now an adult. She's moved on. I currently work for the Waseca County Sheriff's Office as a correctional officer. Prior to that, I worked 10 years for Countryside Motors. I should mention I've worked almost 14 years for the Sheriff's Office, worked 10 years prior to that for Countryside Motors, so I have a background in government, and I also have a background kind of in personal business and customer service. I've served as a Ward 1 council member for almost 6 years. I've also served on the Discover Waseca Tourism Board for 6 years as one of my commissions, and on the Fire Relief Board for 6 years. I've also been on the Police Reserves for 9 years prior, and I've also served almost 15 years on the Waseca County Snowmobile Trail Association. I'm very passionate about Waseca and like giving back to the community. I would enjoy serving 4 more years on the City Council. Thank you.
Mr. Ebertowski.
My name is James Ebertowski. I go by Jimmy. Most of my friends call me Jimmy, so that's all right. I was born and raised here in town as well. I am 26 years old, so rather young for a position such as this, but I have taken quite a bit of interest in this, and I just want to see change in Waseca and see Waseca grow with taxpayers in mind. I know that my pocketbook has been affected by tax raises in the past, and so that's a big reason why I decided to run. I am running unopposed, unfortunately, but so be it. Otherwise, my careers in town I started as an EMT at North Memorial Health when I was 19, and then worked for a year there, and then while continuing to work full-time, I became a paramedic, and just shortly before, last year, became an electrician, and wanting to build a family in town, and that was the way to go. So, other than that, I don't have any local politic experience, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm excited to learn, and I'm excited to hopefully do a good job. Thank you.
Ms. Schrader.
Hi, my name is Stacy Schrader, and I just want to first thank you all for this opportunity. It's pretty much of a big honor to be here. I have a passion for our community. It was 30 years ago that I was a student here and had dreams of maybe possibly being in government somewhere. Got busy raising my family. I have 4 adult children. I am married, love my 2 dogs. Been a hairstylist for 28 years and counting independently, so I do work for myself here in town. I think I bring forth a really unique position where I have access to the public on almost a daily basis. And I hear so many things. I've always heard Waseca is hard to work with, so I'm trying to figure out why that is and why that's our reputation, and willing to get busy to work for you. Thank you.
Mr. Tackett.
Good afternoon, everybody. I appreciate you guys being here. My name is Robert Tackett. I am running for the City Council Ward 1 seat. I am a family man, businessman, and a proud military veteran with 21 years of honorable service. I've seen a lot, I've experienced a lot, and I've learned much in my life. I want to bring a fresh viewpoint here to Waseca. I do plan on helping Waseca flourish through community involvement. I believe that we need to get people involved, and together we can help Waseca grow. Thank you.
All right, we will now start with question 1. Quality of life. What are the most important aspects of our community that are worth bragging about, preserving, and developing more? Also, how should Waseca market itself to draw attention to this quality of life? We will now start with Mr. Ibertowski.
I'd say first and foremost our town as just a whole, and then the people that protect and serve our town, whether it be our police officers, our fire department, or the private ambulance that we have in town. I think that's a very good highlight that we have. Secondly would be, I've heard Robert speak on this before, was our neighborly aspects and how much we care for each other and wanting to help each other out. I think that's a great selling point. Our awesome school system and our teachers, a great place to raise a family. Other than that, I'd probably sum it up with those four things. That's what I'll leave it as.
Perfect. Mr. Tackett?
Can you repeat the question?
What are the most important aspects of our community that are worth bragging about, preserving, and developing more? Also, how should Waseca market itself to draw attention to this quality of life?
That's a great question. So there's three parts to that question that can be very complicated. But I do believe that one of our saving graces here is our self-reliance and our independence for the small farmers. We've got some small and large farms here, and their strength is actually a big focal point for our community. If we didn't have the farms, I don't believe that Waseca as a city would do very well here. We do have some economy here. We do need to build on that economy. We need to bring in some bigger businesses, and we also need to develop some smaller mom and pop businesses. That way everybody can have something to do, especially our youth after school. And in the summertime, we don't really have a whole lot for them to do right now other than sit at home and play video games. And I think that we can change that with some small businesses, some video arcades, maybe some coffee shops, bring in some small businesses. And one thing that we can mention here that we can do some marketing is our city council's already started this, and our economic development board has started this. We've developed a website where we can reach out to companies across the nation and entice them to come to us. We can show them what we've got available, properties we have available, and then we can start a dialogue and see if they'd like to move here. And maybe they'd like to get a big company in here that can help our small city flourish. Thank you.
Ms. Schrader?
I think one of our greatest assets is our school system. I know at one time we were number 4 within the state for the size of our community, and I think that says a lot about what we do here in Waseca. We're providing a great education, and I think that's very marketable to families to be here. I know that's one reason why I chose to stay here. I felt the quality of education I received was great, and I wanted my children to have that same quality. And I also think we do have a lot of wonderful amenities, such as our parks and our lakes, and our public library is probably my favorite thing. And we have so many good things going for us, and I just want to get more good things going too. I think just to be able to say that we are willing to listen and willing to learn and willing to try new things would be very beneficial to our community, and look for ways to keep our youth here or to attract younger people. Once certain people age out or leave the community, how are we replacing them?
Mr. Conrad?
I think a lot of the things have already been covered. They talked about the school system. I think that was spot on. I think we've got an excellent school district here. I think public safety, I think that is one of the bigger points being made, as it seems like larger communities are becoming unsafe with public safety, and smaller ones are becoming more safety focused. More people are able to telecommute to work. I think that is one thing we should be focusing on. And I'm focused on continued public safety here at the police department, fire department, continuing focused on that. But one thing I was also very fortunate on, the tourism board just completed a tourism assessment through the University of Minnesota, focusing on what are key things to that bring people to Waseca, and it's our lakes, it's our trails. Waseca has a vast trail system even through town. We have like the Northwest Trail, which they call the Doodlebug Trail, the trail around Clear Lake Park. A lot of communities don't have this, even like Waseca having like Clear Lake and stuff like that, and we're trying to improve the water quality and stuff in Clear Lake, but you take a community like Otana that has limited lakes, they don't have this. So our parks and our trails and our lakes, they bring a lot to the tourism and bringing people to the community too. So those three things. Thank you.
Question 2, the budget and taxes. The current council has passed an 11% preliminary tax levy increase. It is actually lower when the tax revenue from ConAgra is included in that formula, but still in the ballpark of 7%. Are you in favor of this raise in city taxes? If not, how much would you support? We will start with Ms. Schrader.
Actually, I thought it was my understanding from being at a past council meeting that it was 4.5 or 4.9%. However, it does take money to build a good community and to keep those safety practices in play, to keep those amenities. And sometimes you need to look at things as an investment and short term. I would like to see us grow our housing, get a bigger piece of the pie or to draw from. We can't keep asking people, you can only go to the well so many times. You can't keep asking over and over and over. So what are we doing to grow that tax base? And I feel like for so long we've been a little stagnant. And if we can grow that, you spread that out over a greater population.
Mr. Tackett?
Well, I do agree with Mrs. Schroeder. She's absolutely right. We need to grow the tax base. And to do that, we do need to build more houses that people can live here in Waseca rather than drive all the way to Mankato or Owatonna. And we do need to bring in some bigger businesses who can pay those property taxes. If we cannot get our property taxes down to a manageable level, our seniors are going to have a lot of problems when their income does not meet that property tax. Their fixed income is going to hurt them so much that they'll either have to sell their house or move into an assisted living facility. We don't want that. And so, like I said, we do need big businesses to come in, and we do need more housing, like Mrs. Schroeder said, and we do need more businesses to all share in that tax base. If they can share in that tax base, then the rest of us can breathe a little bit easier for a little bit longer until the city starts to grow more. Then we need to get that tax base built up again. So it's just a combination of quite a few things: housing and businesses. Thank you.
Mr. Conrad?
So the preliminary levy was set at 11.2, with the actual impact being 4.49% on the actual homeowners base with the ConAgra thing. And that's the preliminary. It can't go any higher than that. It can be lowered. And I just want to clarify, because I was one of the ones that voted in on that. What Ms. Schrader and Mr. Tackett mentioned, there's $100,000 in there, which is almost 2% of the levy, not quite, for future development of the town. And what that would be is that would be, say, like a housing development, a subdivision. We don't have anything budgeted right now for doing anything for development or a west interchange or anything like that. We can take that out and we can, not have that in there, and we can lower people's property taxes, but it's going to hurt down the road. So do we want to do a little bit now to ease the pain? But the pain's just going to keep going. In order to get the businesses, in order to get the houses, which is going to eventually lower the pain overall for the town, we have to start looking a little bit more towards the future, because in order to get the businesses, we have to have the employees. There's many aspects of this you have to look at, not just one little thing, and we have to be looking towards the long-term future, and that's why we have Vision 2030. So there's many things that have to be done in an overall look to lower taxes, and I expect that the overall impact will be much lower than 4.49 when the final levy is done in December. Thank you.
Mr. Ubertowski?
Could I ask you to repeat the question?
The current council has passed an 11% preliminary tax levy increase. It is actually lower when the tax revenue from ConAgra is included in that formula, but still in the ballpark of 7%. Are you in favor of this raise in city taxes? If not, how much would you support?
Okay, so as far as being in favor of 11.2, or even possibly lower, that's just the cap on how high it can go. I'd say just because we can doesn't mean we should. I understand that it does take money to grow a community, to build a community, whether that's just infrastructure for water and sewer and electrical for the new houses that are going to be built. But otherwise, that high of a levy, I do not. I understand 4.49% is what the estimated impact is on taxpayers such as myself. But in the past, I believe levies are more around that 3% range, and I'd like to see it down there for future, if not lower, if possible, with respect to still needing to be able to grow, not having to 10 years from now throw a 6% levy or a 7% levy at the taxpayers. With bringing businesses into town, I know taxes are a big problem. I do know that Delta Waseca, that was in town for many years and started in town, they also left because of taxes, paying about $1,000 a week in taxes. Yeah, so that's a big deal. I understand it takes money to make money and grow a community, but we need to do it with respect to pocketbooks of lower middle class, such as myself and most of the people that live in Waseca. So,
Question 3, which is a follow-up to question 2. What are the critical, non-negotiable services the city must continue to provide, and are there services that may have to be reduced or cut through financial times? Mr. Conrad?
So what services would we cut first? Was that the question?
Yeah.
Well, it's very popular services, but the non-essential services that would be cut first, the very first one going through my mind would be like leaf pickup, brush pickup. Those would be the very two first ones coming through my mind that would save money. I do not, let me state this, I'm not in favor of doing that, but it was done several years ago when we were cutting back the budget. But first of all, on the leaf pickup, as part of our wastewater treatment or with the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, we do that partly through that and to control phosphorus getting into the lakes. But those two things, overwhelmingly, I've heard support from the community about picking up brush and leaves from the community, so I would not want to do that. Those are two that are coming to mind right away. I mean, I guess after that, you'd probably be cutting back on, I guess we have maybe a little bit overabundance of parks. Maybe you'd cut back on some of that as stuff that would be not necessary stuff. I don't know what else would be extra beyond that. Thank you.
Mr. Ubertowski?
As far as cutting stuff, I kind of agree with Jeremy as far as parks go, but then that cuts into our appealability to new families or people that want to build a family in town, such as trails, things like that. The upkeep of that stuff is expensive, but it draws people in, whether they're here to build a family or here for a little vacation, camping over at Kiesler's or whatever else it might be. Things that we can't cut would be, I don't think we should use our city employees as the ones that are going to take the hit. I don't think that'd be the answer in the slightest. We can't get rid of snow removal, all of our essentials. There are so many essentials. But yeah, our departments do a lot of work and help to keep the town clean, so I don't think we can really use those individuals to cut back. It is a tough question. Takes a lot of thought. I will have to think about that more, but no matter what the answer is, I know there's going to be some people upset, but like we've just talked with the last question, taxes are rather out of control, and if all of our middle class can live on a budget, I feel like our city should be able to as well. So that'll be a challenge and a lot of work going forward to figure that out.
Mr. Tackett?
That's a great question, talking about the budget. So we do have quite a few essential services that we cannot do without. Like Jimmy was saying, we cannot do without the snow removal. That would handicap us so bad. And of course, our law enforcement needs to stay strong. We cannot, for a moment, cut back on law enforcement. And we do know that we need our trash picked up and our brush cleaning. But the brush cleaning, like Mr. Conrath was saying, you know, maybe people can take care of that themselves and make some trips to the dump, or have a couple of different services that will provide that at a cost. But what we're forgetting about is one way that we can save some money is to hand off some of these items like the parks. We do know that cleaning the parks and maintaining the parks is a bit of an effort. It does take manpower, it does take some money. But perhaps we have not explored yet the possibility of having some volunteer organizations adopt the park the same way we adopt highway cleaning. Right? We have different groups go out for that. I don't see why we couldn't bat it around the city a little bit and ask some groups if they would like to adopt Clear Lake Park adopt, Loon Lake Park, and then it will be their responsibility to go through and clean it up and do whatever the city park people do. That way they free up the city park people to do other tasks that are more beneficial to the city. And that could save us some money if we have some volunteer groups out there who will take pride in helping Waseca out. Thank you.
Ms. Schrader.
Well, to expand on what Robert was saying, is there a way to look at where the inefficiencies are within our community? I often feel that government isn't efficient. Are there ways that we can combine different things within the city with different staff members? And are there ways where we can partner with private, maybe outsource some things? As city staff chooses to leave or is no longer here, or instead of creating some new positions, can we outsource that? Whether it would be a volunteer organization or a paid, then you don't have the expenses of some of their health care and retirement and those types of benefit packages. Clearly, I do not think we can cut anything with our police department. They are way overworked and are always running short, and I might have a little bit of a firsthand knowledge of that. And our fire and any of those critical EMS services, those are non-negotiable. Those critical moments, you need them there, you need them fresh, and you need them ready to help you in your time of need. So I don't believe that is anything that we can cut. As far as snow removal, is that something we can do on a little bit of a different schedule? Does that mean the city here, the constituents need to understand that your snow may not be removed on a Sunday or a weekend? Maybe, this is the reason why plows are pulled at 5 o'clock and not go out until 5 a.m. And just maybe a little bit of understanding on some of those things. And you may not have the conveniences, but you have your money instead of paying that out in taxes.
Question 4, future of Waseca. What are the biggest challenges facing the city of Waseca in the next 5 years, and what will you do on the council to ensure that Waseca's quality of life is high for its citizens and appealing to potential citizens? We will start with Mr. Ibertowski.
As far as a 5-year goal, comes as a double-edged sword. You need houses to get a business. You need a business to get houses. So that's a double-edged sword. Takes money to make money, like I said earlier. But again, it goes right back to our taxes. We have a great building from Delta Waseca that they used to occupy. Absolutely enormous, great building. But with the taxes as high as they are, I don't see any type of blue-collar family business that wants to move in, whether it's a trucking company or a technology company or a manufacturing company. Taxes that high will cut into their profits, and then they'll look elsewhere. As far as lowering those taxes, then it cuts into the city being able to make money and provide services. So like I said, double-edged sword. But like they're doing with Gator Lake right now on the city council, getting infrastructure out there, rather controversial topic on how that's been going, but that's a good step in the right direction. I think that maybe more thought and maybe bringing in some more individuals that have more knowledge to help us come up with ideas to, again, not put the burden so much on taxpayers for new developments like that. But yeah, double-edged sword of build houses and bring in businesses. That's the two main things that I think will bring Waseca back.
Ms. Schrader.
I'd like to see the city stop spinning the proverbial wheel and put a little gas behind it. And we need a little bit of traction. So I would like to see a little bit of growth within our housing and our industry. And I think those two, as Jimmy said, do go hand in hand. You need both. And it's very hard to attract a business here to come in and pay those taxes if they don't have an employee base to draw from or a place to bring their employees to. I'd also like to see the city kind of partner, like I said before, with some private, not just public enterprises. Look at having an accelerator fund or a business incubator. I think those things, sourcing outside of the taxpayer base and have people put their money where their mouth is, so to speak. I also really think that we need to take a look at how we're marketing ourselves. And are we going to be workable? Are we going to look outside the box? Are we going to look for different visions past the now? And looking ahead 5 years, where do we want to be? Do we want another 20 houses? Do we want another smaller version of a ConAgra type business? Because that is actually a very big business. Are we supporting the current businesses here? Are we working with them instead of making them feel like maybe we're chasing them out of town? Maybe get to know those businesses. Ask them how we can better serve them or work together. I think things work better when you try to partner versus try to take it all on yourself.
Mr. Tackett.
Thank you. So we do know that our downtown area has a few empty buildings in the historic downtown area of Waseca. What I'd like to see is some people move in and get those buildings up and get some businesses going there as a start. But we know that we have to multitask at the same time. We cannot just focus on smaller businesses. We cannot just focus on bigger businesses. We have to do them all at the same time. And that does take a lot of effort. It does take a lot of marketing. It does take a lot of advertising. It takes a lot of manpower to reach out to all these different businesses and get them going. Likewise, what I see in 5 years, I do see some bigger businesses coming in. Hopefully the city council can entice some larger businesses in, perhaps the size of ConAgra. The issue is the property, the footprint that they're going to leave. We need that kind of property available, so we have to figure out where we can find the available land for larger businesses if one of them starts to ask some questions. We just really don't have it available right now. We have to look and we have to make some plans for that. And like Stacy was saying, we do need some housing. We need quite a bit of housing, to be honest. But if we privatize some of that stuff, the private companies can take that type of risk where the city can't. The city doesn't have that kind of money for that risk, but private companies do. The issue, as what we've been harping about all last couple of years that I remember, is enticing those companies to come in and take that risk in the first place. So that's where we have to, be good stewards and be good friends, be good neighbors, and talk to some people outside of Waseca to come to Waseca and be a part of our family. Thank you.
Mr. Conrad.
I agree with what my three colleagues here said. We have to work on the housing, and we've been doing that for the last 6 years with tax abatement in the city. We need the county to partner up again with their tax abatement program that they stopped doing. We need to work on filling our existing empty buildings and getting those filled up with businesses. And just kind of like what, again, all the other three said, you need employees to staff those buildings. And we need to also work on getting new businesses in. And I believe, because granted the price tag on this is very hefty, we need to work on getting the infrastructure out, and we have to get that through grant money through the state and federal government out to the west interchange. Otherwise it's not going to happen because the price tag is too expensive to get that out there and get that shovel ready so we can start competing with our communities to the east and west of us for basically a second industrial park. And you have to do all of these things, like Mr. Tackett said, you have to do them all at once. You have to fill the empty buildings, you have to work on the new buildings, you have to work on housing, you have to do them all at once. And then this is what's going to start getting taxes reasonable. You can't just work on one, you have to be doing them all at the same time. Thank you.
Next question. Business growth. Do you agree with the decision by the city of Waseca last year to offer a generous tax abatement to ConAgra in exchange for continuing to be a part of the Waseca economy? Do you favor this approach to encourage businesses to locate here? We will start with Mr. Tackett.
That's a great question. Yes, I do agree with the tax abatement going out to ConAgra. We do need them, and at some point they're going to start getting that money back. It's looking down the road. You have to invest in the future. If we take a little bit of a hit now, ConAgra is actually a very big staple here, just like Itron and some other companies. But having ConAgra stay here is going to keep people employed, and those people are going to be buying houses. They're going to be paying taxes, and hopefully we can entice more people to come. If they see ConAgra is successful, maybe other businesses will want to come over and be successful like ConAgra. So yes, I do support that abatement. It wasn't too big of a hit on everybody just yet. And down the road, like I was saying, we should get that money back tenfold. Thank you.
Ms. Schrader.
I did agree with that tax abatement. Birdseye or ConAgra had been here for a long time, and if it meant keeping them here I don't see why we wouldn't do that. I know other communities have been very successful in attracting businesses by offering such things as the tax abatement. Now, ConAgra did step up, and they are agreeing to pay off earlier, so that is lowering our 11% down to that 4.9% of that levy. So in good faith, to show that you're willing to invest in them if they invest in you, I think it pays off in the long run.
Mr. Conrad.
I absolutely do, and I was part of it. Now, the deal was not perfect, but first off, all we hear about on city council is you don't do enough for businesses and you don't do enough to keep them in town. So I want you to understand that we did everything we could to keep them in town. And everything was done to keep them in town. Now, the deal was not 100% perfect, other than the fact that I think some employees still, unfortunately, due to them optimizing their operations, still lost their jobs through it. But I'm hoping eventually they'll expand their operations with the new high-tech facility, and they will maybe eventually add jobs. And I think some people are not overly thrilled with sometimes the smell that Birds Eye produces, although this year I thought it was better than it had been in years past. All of that said, I want everybody to keep this in mind. Now, I know this is a long ways down the road. In 20 years, when that tax abatement ends, you will be astonished at what a difference that makes to the levy. Just this year, we were told by the city manager that on the impact levy, it was like building 50 new houses just this year in 2023 on our levy. So imagine if we didn't add that in 2023. And if we would have lost those jobs and we didn't add that to the levy, we'd be at the 11.2%. So I 100% support it, and everybody would be howling if we lost Birds Eye, Brown Printing, and all the rest of the businesses if we didn't. So I stand by it 100%. Thank you.
Mr. Ebertowski.
Yeah, I do agree with the tax abatement for ConAgra. I listened to the city council meetings when all that was going on, the 3 leading up to the final decision. And yeah, like Jeremy said, it wasn't a perfect deal from the way it sounds. But by golly, it worked out, and we kept a great big business in town. It'll employ plenty of people, and like you said, when they continue to grow, they'll employ even more. And then also, like Stacy said, other counties, not counties, but cities surrounding us with their tax abatement programs and the way that they've been able to grow with bigger businesses and or smaller businesses. It is a great thing. It is a little bit of a hit at first, but like Jeremy and Robert said, in 20 years we'll start getting that money back tenfold and or better, or however that ends up working out. But I do agree with it, and I think it was as good of a job as you could have done with what you were given as far as the city council goes on that and keeping those businesses in town. As far as other businesses go, I would like to see our smaller businesses receive similar breaks and similar help and similar working with them to help them grow as well. So that's all.
We will now go into our closing statements, starting with Mr. Conrad.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed serving on city council for 6 years. I would continue to serve for 4 more years. Some of the things I'm most proud of is I do not miss meetings. If you call me or email me, I will call you back, I will email you back, and I will listen to you. You know, one of the difficult things about government is you are not going to please 100% of the people, but whenever I make a decision, I want you to know that I think it's close, I will put my personal feelings aside and I try to think of how I think the majority of people in Waseca would want it done, and that's how I vote on it. Sometimes I might get it wrong, and I apologize for that, but that's how I usually try to base my decisions on, and I would be honored to represent you for 4 more years. Thank you.
Mr. Ebertowski.
I appreciate all of this here today and all the students being interested, whether it was an elected class or you were asked to do it. I appreciate it. As far as wanting to serve the community, I served the community being a paramedic and really enjoyed that. Oh, okay. Time expired. I thought that was a little quick, but I enjoyed the community, serving the community in that aspect. And I look forward to serving the community in this regard. I hope I do a great job. I will do my absolute best. One thing that I've heard over and over again is listen to the people and make them feel heard. I might not always agree with you, but I will listen to you. It's the First Amendment in our Constitution, and I feel like you should be heard. I may not have all the right answers, but I promise I'll ask some thought-provoking questions. They may not be the most complicated, but it'll hopefully get people heading in the right direction. So I guess I can't think of anything more to say other than thank you very much.
Ms. Schrader?
Once again, thank you for allowing me to be here today. I'm not going to give a laundry list of anything. I think we can all agree that most of us want a lot of the same things, and namely that quality of life. So I just want to tell the constituents of Ward 1 that I'm just willing to ask those questions, bring forth your concerns, roll up my sleeves, and I'm not only working for you, but I want to work with you.
Mr. Tackett?
Oh, thank you. And again, thank you everybody for the opportunity to be up here today and speak to the public. And like Stacy was saying, I love Stacy. She's awesome. You're not going to go wrong with either one of us that you vote for, I promise you. She's got the same values that I have. And we do believe that you have to work with the people in your ward. You have to listen to them. You have to be available to hear their concerns, their issues. You have to make the time and do the research to answer their questions as best as you can. And sometimes you don't always have the answers, but we can bring those answers to the city council. We can try and get the answers, and then we can put them out there for everybody to hear. And we do need to be transparent in all that. So I think you can't go wrong up here. You've got some great people running for city council. Use them. Thank you.
That concludes our debate for today. Thank you to our candidates for participating. Special thanks to Chuck Pollock for his time and talents, and to the City of Waseca for making it possible to broadcast all the debates during the weeks leading up to the election. Debates can also be viewed on the Waseca Schools District's homepage. Again, thank you for your support of Waseca High School Coffee Break Debates.